So today we're going to actually review SQL queries, which is built upon the SQL Basics Challenge with the school database with addresses, classes, enrollments, and students. So the SQL queries, you have all these different queries to query. And let's actually go ahead and fork this over to my personal GitHub. So Pop-up Platoon, now we're at Tom Preet SQL Queries 1. Looks like I already have a SQL Queries out there. So I'm going to clone this down. I'm going to open up VS Code, zoom in a little bit, and open up the terminal and CD into where I have my Papa challenges. So I'm list everything out. I'm going to get clone in here. So I can list everything out again. And now I've got my SQL Queries 1. I'm going to CD into SQL Queries 1. And I'm going to open this into a new VS Code window, which is going to reload VS Code. And in the File Explorer, I'm inside of my SQL Queries challenge. So with that, here are all my SQL queries. What I'm going to do is just copy all of these. We'll open up, create a new file called queries and make it a SQL file. I'm going to code queries to open up a new window or open up into a tab. I'm going to paste my queries in here. I'm going to just delete all of that. And first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just make sure I have my school database, PSQL school. Great. I can inspect everything by doing \D. And I can do \D addresses just to inspect each table. Great. I also want to show you something else. So if you are on a Mac, there is this application called Postaco. And it is a modern Postgres client for the Mac. And what this does is gives you, it's an application that gives you insight into the databases that are on your local machine. So if I were to open up Postaco, it's even on here, hopefully it's still running. So I can connect, you can follow the, so here is a visual representation of all the different databases I have on here. And I can look to see if I have school on here. So right here is school. If I double click on that, I open up and I can see the different tables I have within the school database. And in here, if I double click on this, it's going to give me a visual representation of all the entries within like the students table. So now I can see all the actual entries within the students table. And you can go back, you can see enrollments like so. So this is really nice because you can also actually edit it, like just inline edit it. So if I wanted to add like a new student, 6, Tom, Preet, 1986, 03, 16. And as I make changes, I can preview the SQL command, the SQL query of what I'm actually doing. Insert into, I don't know what this public means, but I'm entering into students, ID returning. So this is a SQL preview of kind of what I'm doing up here. And now I can actually save the change and there it goes. I can also edit it. So I can also preview that. So I'm updating students set last name to Preet where ID equals 6, etc. So this is kind of nice, but don't rely on this to actually insert data and all of that. Just get used to running actual SQL commands.
Would you say it's worth the like purchasing a license for it, or is it free?
It's free. Every time you exit it or close out, it'll just ask you, let's just discard that change. I think every time you exit it, it'll just ask you to buy it and activate license. You can just say no thanks. But worth downloading. It's kind of nice to see. There are other applications out there that do something similar, but this is really nice for the Mac.
Can you show us what the schema tab or drop down was like on that? It said something about schema information or whatever.
Let's see, school. We're right here.
No, on underneath there's a little file. It says information _ schema.
Yeah, I actually have no idea. I never look at this.
That doesn't look very useful.
Yeah, I mean, this has a lot of other things probably that like material, like that are probably useful, but I just scratch this. I just use it just to like it's game, make sure that things are. What just happened? Content. So yeah, you got content structure as to like what each column is. And you can add columns and rows and stuff like that. All right. So that's just Postaco, kind of just like a nice to have. But with that, let's jump back to the actual VS Code. All right. So I'm going to PSQL into school. So I'm inside of my school, and let's go through some of the queries. So select all rows from the classes table. I'm going to start calling on people. If does anybody want to take this one?
I'm happy to. I can do it.
All right.
So select all from the classes to, all right. So so it's going to be select apostrophe or not apostrophe, asterisk.
Star. Yep.
Yep. Star from classes. And I think that's it, right?
All
That
right.
should be it.
Yeah, let's check it out. So I'm going to come down here into the terminal into the actual thing. So select all classes from the classes table. Pretty straightforward. All right. Who wants to take the second one? Select the name and credits from the classes table where the number of credits is greater than 3. Jonathan, right?
So for this one, it's going to be select name, comma, credits from classes where credits, alligator mouth facing credits greater than 3.
All right, great. So if I do that down here, so credits, CS and physics, and you can, that's why I kind of just use Postaco real quick. I just look at, what was it, classes. So greater than 3, we have CS and physics. Great. So you can kind of just inspect it real quick because it's a small enough database with small enough entries. Yep, good job. All right, all rows from the classes table where the credits is an even number. Who wants to take that one? All right, Kevin.
Select all classes. Wait, all rows from the class table. Yeah, all classes. Oh, sorry, all from classes. Where credits modulus 2 equals 0.
Like that,
right.
so let's check it out.
That's right.
Awesome. So CS 101, physics 218, art 118. Great. All right. All of Tiana's enrollments that she hasn't yet received a grade for. All right. How do we want to do this one? Someone raise their hand. I got James. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I've got select enrollments.id, comma enrollments.class ID, comma students.first name.
Hold on a second. Ramon's dot.
sorry,
What was it? Ramon's.
ID, enrollments.class ID, comma students dot first name.
So enrollments. So students dot first name.
Yeah.
Like that. All right.
Yep. From enrollments. That's the end of it. From enrollments. Inner join. Might be easy if you start making a new line here.
Yeah. Let me actually.
Inner join students on enrollment dot student ID equals student ID. Or students.id, yeah. Where grade is null. And first name is Tiana, is equals capital T Tiana.
First name equals.
I had a question about this one. Like,
Yep.
it doesn't specify what exactly like they want to show. So would you just do like, I know James, he's having it return enrollments ID, class ID, and student's first name. Like, if it didn't specify, would you just select star from enrollments?
Yeah. Like, again, this is kind of ambiguous as to like what to select for, what to display. This is fine. But if you just selected star, that's also fine. We just want to get you familiar with all this. Uh-oh, what happened? Did I miss something?
Grade is null instead of equals.
Oh. All right. There we go. So enrollments. Does that look right?
And then I think on that one, I was just copy and pasting from what I did earlier, but I got a little ahead of myself and didn't realize that the very next question was that was the answer. That was the answer to the next one too. So
Yep. So again, if that's okay, you can also just do, if you like inspected, you can do like student dot ID, whatever Tiana's ID is, I'm guessing. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. Is it 1? So if you just did 1, I think the same. Uh-oh. Students. Same thing. But yeah, these two, you can do star, you can do anything. Also, where is it? From enrollments. Instead of typing enrollments every single time, I don't know if you've all seen this, whoop. But if you have like a pretty long query like this, I'm just gonna do enroll, and I can do from enrollments as enroll. So you're like substituting enrollments to enroll, just so you don't have to type out enrollments every single time. Same with student. If I don't want to type out students every time, I'm just going to do stud, but join students as stud. So every time I refer to students, I just refer to stud. That also kind of like if you have like a pretty complex query, you can rename the table almost throughout your query.
Tom, would you mind going through this one line by line? Because maybe I didn't make it as far. I should probably know all this, but like, I'm just trying to like think through what's going on here. On line one, we're saying we want to show from the enrollment table, the ID, from the enrollment table, the class ID, and then from the student table, the first name. Is that what we're saying? Like, that's what we're going to show on our table.
Sorry,
And
hold on.
we're-
Say that one. So this,
It's
are
like-
you referring to this one?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Right where you're at on line 11. That's
Yep.
saying the columns we're going to show in the output is going to be the ID and the class ID from the enrollment table,
Mm-hmm.
but also the first name from the student table. And I guess where I'm a little bit unclear is where we're doing from enrollments. Could we do that from students also and then join enrollments? Is like that not matter? Like
No, you
which-
can do that. It's just, yeah, you can definitely do that. So you could do it. Students as stud and join enrollments as enroll. And it would still work. It just depends on what table you're starting at, like what table you're going to start at, and then what tables are you joining to that table. So you can start with from the students and join the enrollments, and then do your query from both of those. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. It just, again, depends on where you're starting from.
Okay, and not to belabor this, but just to make sure I'm clear, the join, what we're saying in line 12 then is we're saying we are going to join these two tables on where the IDs match up.
Yep.
That's like on enroll.student ID. Okay, I think I'm following that. Thank you.
And typically I just use a regular join. I can't specifically tell you what an inner join. Can anybody explain what an inner join is?
Inner join is explicitly join is an inner join, but when you do inner, it apparently isn't explicitly. I learned it as inner join, and so I keep writing it.
Yep.
They're the same.
All right. Let's keep going. So all of Tiana's enrollments that she hasn't yet received a grade for, selected by her first name, not her student ID, with the class name included in the result. Okay. Anybody want to try this one? I got Susan. Or,
Actually, I had a question.
okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. So I see that you have is null and first name equals Tiana. Where would you use is and where would you use equals?
I think that just depends on anything that adds an explicit value, or so you can't do like, I don't know, can you do is Tiana? I actually don't know. I don't think so, but let's just, yeah. I think it just depends on when you're referencing null, you just have to do is null or is undefined, but null is considered like undefined. There is no value in there.
Okay, so null would be one of the only cases in which we would use is.
I believe so. I'm sure there's I'm sure there's some other queries where it might be like is something, but if you're explicitly using a value like a integer or a string or a varchar, then it would be equals.
Okay, thanks.
I got a couple people. Seth, do you want to try the next one?
Yeah, I was going to answer this one if you
All
want.
right. Yeah.
So I did select students dot first name, comma classes dot name.
Dot name
Yep. Comma grade.
like that.
And this is just like to double check the work. We don't need to include the grade, but if it's going to populate on a column, I want to see it empty.
Okay.
And then from enrollments. And this is going to get pretty long on these joins. So I broke it down. So join students on enrollments dot student ID.
Like,
Sorry, yeah, dot student underscore ID equals students dot ID.
so equals, oh, hold on, I'm sorry. Is it join student dot ID, like so, right?
Yes, that looks right.
Okay.
And then the next line is going to be join classes on enrollments dot class ID equals classes dot ID.
Okay.
And then for the next line, it's going to be where grade is null and students dot first name. That's the same as above, equals Tiana.
All right. So all of Tiana's enrollments that she hasn't yet received a grade for, selected by her first name, not her student ID, with the class name included in the result. So what we're doing here, let's actually bring up, what is this? So I've got the actual like schema. So what we're doing here. So we're grabbing the first name. I guess where are we at? We're grabbing enrollments. We're joining students where the student ID equals the students.id. Then we're joining classes where the enrollments class ID equals the class ID. So we have these three joined together. And we're saying where the grade is null and the student that first name is equals Tiana. So let's actually see what this looks like. I'm going to quit that. I'm just going to clear that just to give us some. So she has yet to receive a grade for this enrollment. So we can check that. So the name grade is null. So it's actually just checking Postaco. So Tiana has an ID of 1. If I look at enrollments, I look at ID of 1. So I've got, this is what it's looking at. Grade is null. Let's look at that class ID of 3, Spanish 210. So if I look right here, we have Spanish 210 is the enrollment that, or the class that Tiana does not have a grade for. Great. All right, we have all students born before 1986 who have a T in their first or last name.
Tom, I had a real quick question kind of related to the last one. The enrollments table, like I've been going into the habit of like my through tables or join tables to title them with basically the two things they're joining. So instead of enrollments, I would have been using classes underscore students. Is that a good or bad convention, or is that typically used or not typically used? Since that's a many-to-many, essentially a through or join table, I'm not sure which technical term for it is. Just for my brain to kind of categorize that and keep it straight. That's the way I've been titling it, because I think that's what the Jack and Jake did. But I was just wondering if that was convention or not.
Yeah, it depends. I think I've mentioned this like the first day, like just because it is a through table doesn't mean it has to be a combination of students underscore classes. So enrollments is just another, holds the data of essentially students and classes, but it also has additional data onto it. So like the grade associated with that student in class. So that's just why it's called enrollments. But if you called it students underscore classes, that's also fine. But it's
okay.
It doesn't.
Is it typical if it has extra information in it that you come up with a unique name? Is that Is that kind of what you're saying, or I'm
I
just
don't know if it's best practice, but if you can come up with a description of what that table actually holds, as like what's like the main data that's in there, like, and why that table exists, you can call it that. So
Okay.
if it's pretty obvious that like, oh, well, that's an enrollment, then call it an enrollments table. But if you can't think of a word or a phrase that describes that through table, just do underscore, just combine student underscore classes.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So all students born before 1986 who have a T in their first or last name. We got anybody? Luke.
I have. You want me to just drop it in the chat? Is that okay? 'Cause I think it can be shortened.
What's that?
I think it can be shortened.
Let's check it out.
I just dropped it.
Are you in this chat? Whoa. All right. So I've got, let's just throw it in there. There's a couple ways we can do this. So we're select first name, last name, extract year from birth date as year. So what does the extract do? I've never even used extract.
That's a date time group. So
Okay.
extract's going to say, hey, pull the year portion out of that.
All right. From students, and then extract year from birth date where it's less than or equal to 1986 as students, first name, I like. So this is great. Let's just see if it works. Oh, that's not what I want. Cool. So we've got Tiana, Leopold, and myself. So that works. Does anybody have anything else? You can also, I don't want to say this is definitely correct. This is probably, where is it? So I've got select students. Let's just from students where like you could even hard code this birth date is less than 1986. Is it 01-01? I think that does the same thing. Yeah. But I like this one. I like yours. Just because it uses that extract.
Could he get rid of the or statement with the, is what he's doing in the and or statement, is that contains a T or starts with a T?
I'll have first or, so yeah, I guess it would actually be contains a T. You would need, if it just contains a T, it'd be the wild card or whatever, the percent sign before and after. So yeah, good catch on that. So it should still have the same, but yeah. Well, that works.
But I mean, that means you could get rid of line 31 then, is that, oh, I see. No, it's first and last.
So
All
yeah,
right.
first
Oh, so
or
never
last
mind.
name. All right. Let's grab the average age of all the students. I'll just, Mary.
I did select AVG, opening parentheses, age, opening parentheses, birth date, comma, current underscore date, and 2 closing parentheses from students.
So we got that. Is it, wait. From students. All right, so let's just take a look. Let's run that and all right, average age is negative 34 years, 8 months, 38 days. So what is age? What is age?
I didn't realize it was negative. Could we turn them around? It's a function I found on the Postgres documents. It calculates the age for you.
Awesome.
With the,
So yeah, so age calculates the current date or the actual age of something between two dates. And what is current date? What does that provide?
today's date.
Yep, so current date provides current date. This provides the age of each student, and this grabs the average age of each student. Cool.
How'd you make that not negative? Now mine's turning out negative numbers.
I just switched the current date. So whatever's the greater date should go first.
Oh,
All right.
You could also just delete the current date and just leave it with birth date, and it'll work out.
That'll work out as well. Does it just default the current date? Yep. All right. So for the sake of time, let's just keep going. So addresses that have a space in their name, I'm just going to select everything from addresses where city I like has a space in their name. That's one easy way to do it. So it has a space in their name. So West John, New Karen, Kareen. Students and their addresses that live in a city with more than one word in their name. So this is where you do a join table. You know, select star from students. I'm going to join addresses on addresses.id equals students.student or address.id where, and then we do city I like, just like that, except it would be addresses dot city I like. What happened? Students.
I think you have to switch those two. The addresses ID and students dot address ID.
I think we're good right there.
Oh.
All right, we can do average number of credits. I'm going to do select AVG. You can do credits. I'm going to do as average credits just so it displays a little bit nicer from classes. So 3.2. That's a lot of decimals. I can actually do, is there a way I can round things?
Cast it to numeric.
What's that?
Use double colon behind the closing pairing behind credits there.
Oh, double quote.
One more space over. One more space to the right.
What am I doing
Yeah,
there?
And yeah, right there. Do a double colon, and numeric.
Like actual write the number.
Write the word numeric, yeah. And there you go. And in parens, I put 10 and comma 2.
10 comma 2.
And that's number of digits before and number of digits after the parent.
Yeah, look at that. I think there's also another one. If you just do like round. I think that also works. So there's a round keyword. Never seen that before. That's really cool. Interesting. All right, we get several more. Let's go. Select all first and last name from all students who received an A. So select first name, last name from students. I'm just gonna make that ST. Join enrollments. If you just do it instead of as en, if you just do a space, that's what this also is referring to. It's like, hey, refer to enrollments as en going forward. En dot student ID equals st.id, where enrollment dot grade equals A. Let's see if that works. Cool. So it's that. I can also include like the grade. On that as well, if I wanted to.
Tom, on line 55 there, if I'm following correctly, like you could have done, if you wanted, you could write students dot first name, but you don't have to, right? Because it's just implied, or st dot, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's, I'm following out. Thank you.
Yep. And I could like include everything from a table by doing the star dot or enroll students dot star. So I can include everything from the students table if I wanted to. All right. Each student's first name and the total credits they are enrolled in. So I'm going to do select first name. Wait, yeah, first name. I'm going to sum all their credits as sum credits from students. I'm going to shorten that students table as I'm referring to it throughout the rest of the query as ST. I'm going to join the enrollments. So it's just on each student's first name and total credits they're enrolled in. All right. So students and enrollments, first name, and the number of credits. So I have to join the students table, the enrollments table, and the classes to get the total number of credits that are associated with this, with each student. So enrollments on enrollments.student ID equals st.id. I'm going to join the classes table as CL for classes on enrollments.class ID equals class.id. What else do I need? And I'm going to group by. What does group by do? Anybody?
It'll like condense things down by that category.
Yep. So yeah, I'm grouping everything by their first name. So if the first name appears more than once, it's going to sum all the credits and group them by their first name. So Jed is rolling 7 credits, Leopold 18, 12. There we go. So
Tom, would you mind? I'm sorry, I'm still trying to wrap my head around group by. I feel like I should understand it better, but I quite don't yet. If you got rid of group by there and ran that command, like it wouldn't be summing correctly. Is that correct?
Right. So
like it,
let's actually. So if I got rid of crap. The group by, it's just going to have a list. I don't even know if it'll execute. Yeah. Yeah. So in theory, it would just have a list of everyone's first name, but it'd list the same first name for each individual instance of a class, essentially. So if I didn't do group by, what am I doing? Let's actually just go back. So Leopold is enrolled in 18 credits. If I didn't have this group by, it would have Leopold listed a bunch of times for the first name, where each class credit would be listed as well. So there'd be an instance of like whatever. So it'd be Leopold with like whatever class, like physics 3. So for each instance of a class that Leopold is enrolled in, it would list Leopold 3, Leopold 4, Leopold 2, Leopold. So we actually want to group them by their first name and sum up each credit, all the credits associated with that first name.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like the group by is happening kind of like, I guess it's all happening at the same time, but the group by is like happening before the sum, sort of.
I mean, yeah, if that's how you want to think of it, I don't know specifically behind the scenes how SQL is grabbing everything. It's probably summing everything, and then group by happens, I'm guessing, afterwards, but I actually have no idea.
Gotcha. All right, no, that makes more sense to me now. Thank you.
All right, total number of credits where each student has received a grade for. So pretty much the same thing as this one. So I'm going to come down here and print it or copy it. But so this one's of what they're enrolled in. So that's all of the enrollments, but this one where each student has received a grade for. So we have to do a where clause before the group by, where their grade is not null. So if their grade is not null, that means we want to calculate that or grab that from the database. So notice how the sums, the total credits decrease substantially between these two queries. All enrollments, including the class name. So all enrollments, including the class name. I'm going to just select, select star from enrollments as EN. I'm going to join classes as classes on, what is it? EN dot class ID equals class dot ID. I think that one's all enrollments by their class ID. I think that's it. So yeah, these are all the different enrollments, and we're also has the class ID. And I don't know if I like that. I'll also do class dot class name as class name. I don't know if that's going to mess anything up. It might. Yeah, because I think I'm already. See if this actually, yeah, okay, disregard. This works. Students born between 1982 and 1985. So I'm just gonna do the easy way, select everything from the students where the birth date is from January 1st, 1982, and it's between the birthday of December 31st, 1985. There's another ways we can do it using the way this part, extract birth years, all of that. You can do it something like utilizing that query as well. Does anybody have this one? Insert into. Who has this one?
Got it.
Let's
Insert into enrollment values, and then I had to do parentheses default 5, 4, and A.
What is it? Values. Oh,
In parentheses, I just use default, comma 5, comma 4, comma A in quote. And the reason I'm putting default there at the beginning of that is to avoid having to write every single one of the values. I'm just putting them in order, like in a function call.
is it like that?
Yes, just like that.
And then insert into, is it values? I forgot what the insert query is. It insert into.
Yeah, insert into enrollments values, and then in parentheses, you default, comma, and then you're just gonna inside the parentheses, you have to put all the values, and then 5, 4, and in quotes in A.
Like that?
Single quote.
Oh, yep, single quotes. That's it.
I should do the trick.
Sweet, let's check that out. So let's actually bring up Postaco for fun. Like so. And what's the student ID for? Is it 5? Is it Andre? Is that correct? Check
Yeah, that's a
physics.
student, and 4 is the
It's
class.
5. And then class ID is physics. All right. Let's take a look at enrollments. So it's got 16 IDs or 16 entries. All right. Now if I come over here, in order to refresh, I can refresh the database. There we go. Cool. And that is SQL queries. All right. With that, I'm going to stop.